Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, welcome back to From the Minds of Raging Brats. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
How was your weekend?
Oh, it's been a little all over the place, but I'm trying to practice grounding and gratefulness, and 'tis the month for it, I guess. How have you been?
I'm not sure. My psychiatrist and therapist have been throwing words out like depression, psychosis, psychotic break. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I'm doing. I thought I was doing okay, but apparently I might not be. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. The kiddo for the first time went trick-or-treating on his own with friends. And then he spent the night in town. And then, he changed his first starter today, so he's pretty impressed with himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed with him too, but
Right.
like he's got a lot of self-pride right now, which is really good.
Yeah, getting that phone call was awesome because he already knows I'm at work. And that's the first thing he said because I was like, Bear. He's like, I know, you're at work, but please just listen. And he told me, I was like, and I just stopped what I was doing. I was like, I am actually super proud of you, kid. You keep doing that, and Auntie won't have to work on your car for you.
I know, he called back and told me. He was so excited about it. He's still, when I talked to him a few hours ago, he was like, I changed the starter by myself. I'm like, you told me already. He's like, I know. He's like, but I'm so happy. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, keep up that kind of stuff, not the other kind of stuff, and you won't have as many legal problems.
Yeah, and get him into mechanics, get him into working on cars, because I tell every parent this: if you can get your kid into working on cars and being interested in it, do it. Because cars are money pits. And if all their money is going into a car or all this stuff, guess where it's not going?
Fun stuff.
Awesome hobby.
Yeah, he told me, he's like, yeah, Ashley's mom gave me a weird look last night. She was like, Ashley's your aunt and you aren't working on cars yet. He's like, she gave me a look between, he's like, I'm not sure what it was. Confused, annoyed. I'm like, and he said something else, and I was like, probably all three.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, guarantee it. Like, that woman grew up building cars and built cars most of my life and raced cars, and so for her, that probably is a little weird. Like, you're 16 and don't know how to rebuild an engine, because that's just her world.
Right? Yeah, well, he's 16 and still doesn't know how to do a lot of 16-year-old stuff. So, yeah. It will come with responsibility, which, he's getting much better at recently, which is great for everybody. Like, it really is appreciated when I don't have to round him up like a toddler.
Right.
And he ended up not having the big group of friends show up. So it ended up just being him and two other guys. One of them drives, so they drove around.
Right. As long as they were being safe, like.
Oh, I was keeping an eye on him on Life 360.
Yeah.
If he was in a different area that I was like, why are you here? Explain it to me. It's like they started going up Barnett. And I was like, what are y'all doing? And he's like, we're headed up to Cherry Lane. I was like, oh, okay. That's one of the places I know up in that end of town that still does all the holidays. So yes, you're fine going up there. But like anywhere else up there, you'd be heading and you'd be turning yourself around.
Yeah, but you're right. That is great Halloween area.
Yeah, no, he loved it. He got so much. And actually, most of his candy from trick-or-treating was king-size candy bars.
Yeah, he went to the good areas to get that.
I was like, I'll be. And then, of course, he tells his dad and I, well, you guys are only getting the Hershey's because the Hershey bars are the only things I don't like. I'm like, oh, really? All right, kid. Just remember that when I'm sitting here eating my candy and you're like, I really like some of that. No, man, no. Because I work hard for my candy. That's what he told me. He's like, I can't share because I work hard for my. I said, going and knocking on people's doors and holding the bag open is not working hard, you little turd. All right. Well, if you tuned in last week, you already know we went deep. We peeled back the layers on some of the most infamous serial killers in history. We looked at Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Ed Kemper, Dennis Rader, also known as BTK, Richard Ramirez, and Eileen Wuornos. But we didn't just list crimes. We talked about the minds behind them. How trauma, narcissism, obsession, and control all collide to create something that looks human on the outside but operates from a completely different rule book on the inside. Bundy weaponized charm and manipulation. Dahmer's violence came from loneliness and this twisted need for connection. Gacy hid behind the smiling face of a community leader, literally a clown, while burying bodies beneath his own home. Rader treated murder like project management. Ramirez worshipped chaos. And Eileen Wuornos, she wasn't polished or methodical. She was raw trauma personified, reacting instead of plotting, fighting back instead of stalking. What we saw in part one was that evil doesn't announce itself. It doesn't walk in wearing horns. It's quiet, it smiles, it blends in, and that's what makes it so dangerous. And that is where we will be picking up tonight, with the patterns, the shared psychological threads that tie them together, the unique traits that set them apart, and how those same traits show up in women who kill too. It's ought to be interesting tonight. We've got more women on the list. I've got another 4 female serial killers added on here with information about them. We're going to talk about the shared characteristics of these serial killers and the unique characteristics of these serial killers, because they all have both.
Yes.
And you know, maybe through knowing a little bit more of how their minds work and the characteristics that they both share and having unique can help people out there just maybe be a little bit safer.
That is always the hope.
Or, you know, maybe if you yourself are starting to lean towards a danger zone, the characteristics can help you find help before you cross a line you can't come back from. We're looking at how control, fantasy, power, and trauma all overlap, and how sometimes what looks like 2 completely different kinds of killers are actually 2 sides of the same coin. And we're also going to talk about the part everyone skips. The early warning signs, the behavioral red flags that could have stopped these people before their first body ever hit the ground. Okay, let's start with the basics. The traits that every one of these killers shared in some way or another. Control is the foundation. Every single one of them wanted power. Over life, over death, over fear. Narcissism was next. The idea that rules don't apply to them.
Definitely have to agree there.
Realistically, I think we all have a little bit of that in us. We all have narcissistic traits, even if we're not narcissistic.
But there's a difference between wanting control and flying into a rage and being willing to do anything to obtain your view of control. Because honestly, for every person, control means something different.
Well, and not everybody is in a rage. Some people are very slow, methodical, and precise about it. And it also is because of power and control. But in a more sadist or sadistic kind of way.
Yeah, and for most of these people, the loss of control, it's not like, oh, they're sad, oh, whatever. No, you just like rocked something in them. They need that control. They do not want it, and they are willing, whether it is flying into a rage, methodical, like whatever, they will do anything to obtain said control back.
Yeah. Then you have manipulation and the mask of normalcy. They mimic empathy. They act like they care. They know what you want to see, and they give it to you, right up until they don't. Fantasy plays a huge role, too. These aren't impulsive people. They build a whole inner world before they act. They replay the idea over and over until fantasy stops being enough. And almost all of them have some form of emotional detachment. No empathy, no guilt, no genuine remorse. Even when they say they're sorry, it's for themselves, not their victim. They're sorry they got caught. That is often why it is so chilling. It's not rage in the moment, it's the calm in it. Like they've separated from anything human inside themselves.
Yep.
And that is scarier than rage. Because when you can look into somebody's eyes and see ice cold determination, no rage, no fear, no empathy, just ice cold determination.
Yeah.
It does something to a human's brain just to see that look in somebody's eyes, let alone to be caught in that spider's web.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, with a lot of serial killers, they are genuine psychopaths. Not all of them, of course. Like, we have a lot of studies to prove that. But if you're a true born psychopath, because that's the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath, one is born, one is made. But a psychopath, they can never even, like, they watch people show emotions and whatever, and they're like, okay, so this is how I should act, this is what I should do, like, this is how I should fake emotion, but they can never genuinely connect. So if they become a serial killer, it's not, I felt sorry for the family even when they did. It's more of, I'm so sorry they keep making a problem for me, but I know what you want to hear. So I'm going to tell you that because it's probably going to work out in some benefit to me somehow, whether it's my image like improved as far as I'm concerned, or I get a reward. They really like their rewards. But it's never them feeling it.
No, it's definitely that dopamine hit that releases because of whatever action that they have associated with that chemical release. But rarely does emotion come into it when you're talking about serial killers. Now, there are exceptions. Eileen Wuornos is very much an exception to that. That woman was traumatized beyond belief, and she took that rage and channeled it into ending people that fit the stereotype of those that had abused her.
Yeah. In her case, I will not say that I believe her rendition of things are completely accurate, but I do believe earlier trauma definitely played a part in her murders.
Yeah. Okay, so starting with the male serial killers, let's just walk through the men that we had again. Not by what they did, but what made them tick. Ted Bundy. Weaponized charm, his intelligence and charisma were camouflage, his control came from manipulation and ego. And he was good looking.
Yeah, and he had to feel like he was the smartest person in the room. Like, he was the best. Like, the man had a major inferiority complex.
Yeah, but the thing that like really gets men like him in the door is the fact that they are charming in their looks.
Yeah, because
like
if he was
they are
creepy,
attractive
Like, if he was creepy and he was like, come help me find my puppy, like, none of these women would have gone with him. They'd been like, no, because he was good looking and he seemed like a genuine person. They're like, hell yeah, I'll get in your car, I'll help you find your puppy. Like, of course, you poor individual. Like, he really played into the women's need to, like, help people and feel useful, especially he pretended to have a broken leg and be injured. He, like, really played into that part of our psyche, especially if you look at the time and stuff. Women very much were being taught, no, you drop what you're doing. If a young like man, especially a young single man while you're in college, seems like he could use some help. Like, that's just what good young ladies do.
Don't miss that marriage opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Jeffrey Dahmer. He wasn't driven by power as much as by possession. He wanted to keep his victims forever. That loneliness mixed with pathology probably had a little bit of BPD going on in there with his other mix of mental health, because that seems like a very BPD attachment style.
Yeah, and I think another big part of his thing was guilt and shame. He was so ashamed of who he was, and so ashamed of, like, his sexual wants and, like, who he actually was and, like, his actual beliefs in God, that really manifested into a dark thing for him and not his victims, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially the victims. Shit. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Fuck. I laugh.
Sorry.
I laugh when I when dark things happen. I know.
It's a trauma.
Yes.
I did too. Next up is John Wayne Gacy. He lived a double life. Respectable neighbor by day, sexual sadist by night. His crimes came from repression and self-hatred.
Yes.
I don't know. I think part of his probably was a little bit of maybe some definite psychopathic tendencies in there, because it takes a lot to live two different lives if you don't have DID. I mean, it does anyways. Yes. But if you don't have DID, it becomes infinitely more complicated.
Yeah.
So for him to do that for that prolonged of a period, yeah, there definitely was some different wiring going on in that head.
Yeah, and also, like, it goes back to with him too. He thought he was better than people, but he also felt like he kind of had the right to do that to people. Like, he again did not feel bad, but he really did feel like, because at one point he gave them money or he gave them shelter or whatever else, he should be able to do whatever he wanted to them.
Yeah. Next up is Ed Kemper.
He's a giant. Literally.
He was the analytical one, intelligent, articulate, and disturbingly self-aware. He knew he was broken and still couldn't stop.
That seems to be a similarity between a few, honestly, and like their psychology specifically fascinates me. Because it's not the I'm in power, I should be able to do this, whatever, I get it, you're a self-righteous prick that has a god complex, whatever, that's not that interesting to me. The ones that wanted to stop and felt like they couldn't, like, I'm so fascinated by that compulsion. Like, what creates it?
I don't know, but that is the way that he is described is the way that I would say who I most relate with.
Yeah. See, there's that, like, I know it was a compulsion, I know, but I also know the man was a giant. Like, I believe he was almost 7 foot tall, maybe bigger. Like, he was huge. Like, and when he went to prison, like, there's pictures of him in prison with his arms spread and like the guards are like way under his arms, and I'm like, there's no way I would feel like I could guard that man.
He was 6'9".
6'9". He looks bigger in those pictures, like, but yeah, 6'9" is still really freaking tall.
No, that is huge. 6'9", that's like 3 inches short of 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Big dude. Which, honestly, if you look at a lot of serial killers, is not the case. They're the nondescript person that doesn't stand out. They, like, are shrinking violet, or most people would say are very quiet, or very, like, personable. They're not a giant that stands out. That one. That picture right there.
Yep, 2 prison guards pose for a picture with Ed Kemper.
Yeah. See, that's terrifying.
He was 6'9" and 300 pounds.
I would be so uncomfortable as a guard. So uncomfortable. I know I'm tiny, but oh my god.
That's kind of funny that they put a female and male guard, one on either side of him, because he was the co-ed killer.
Oh. That is actually pretty good. A little fucked up, but hey.
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right. Somebody's got a sense of humor. We were just talking about dark sense of humors. Here we are.
Well.
Then, moving on to Dennis Rader, BTK was methodical. He didn't just kill. He documented, categorized, he branded himself. His narcissistic delusion of order made him believe murder was an achievement. Yeah. Cool beans, bro. Here's your participation trophy.
He thought he was smarter than everybody. Okay, so, again, I know this is fucked up to say. I don't care. He is my favorite serial killer. But it's his psychopathy that fascinates me way more than his murders. Like, his murders are run-of-the-mill serial killer murders. Like, really. He did brand himself. He wrote newspapers. He wrote the freaking police department, which was actually his demise. Because he wrote them a letter and said, "Can you trace a floppy disk?" Dumbass mother. Yes, you can trace it. Traced it right back to you. Like, but he still, even when he was in prison, he still thought he was smarter. He still thought he was better. He was still trying to convince his own children the only reason they were a success is because they were just like him. Like, and when I think one of the things that fascinates me is his time frame of being arrested. Because it was 2005. So I was like 11 or 12. And I'd already been researching his crimes before he got caught. Because my family's into that stuff. But, and then he fascinated me. I was like, he has to be like brilliant. Like, I really bought into the fucking serial killer trope, like I feel a lot of youngins do if they know about serial killers, that he had to have a huge IQ. He had to be brilliant. And then I found out that he blended in and he took a break from his killing, and he fascinated me until I got to around this age, and I'm like, you don't fascinate me. Honestly, if more serial killers, like, now that more DNA is being found and more forensics are taking it into account, I'm like, you're one of a million fucking serial killers. You just happen to get caught. You are not special. You are not smarter. You are not anything. You are just a dude that, when forensics wasn't coming out, was doing well. And the second it started becoming applied in most cases, you stopped killing because you were fucking pussy and you directed your shit elsewhere. And then you went back to it the second a newspaper put your name out, and because you were so fucking attention starved that's how you chose to get it. Still fascinating psychology, but for much different reasons now.
Yeah, but honestly, when you think about it, because of the idea of how many serial killers there actually are out there, and how many have been caught. These are actually the not very smart ones, if you think about it, because I know that even with DNA, there's still a lot out there that have not left a trace.
And that's what it actually was for me. Like, it clicked one night. When it clicked one night when I was watching CSI with my grandma. And I was just like really and I started like looking up like what machines were real and which ones they were making up names for. And CSI is strangely accurate. I will say that. But like I really started thinking about it. I was like, he's not fucking smart. The second this stuff came out, he got freaked out because he knew he was sloppy. Like stuff. I'm like, how smart are you to leave prints, to like write in journals, to write the fucking newspaper? I'm like, how dumb are you actually? You're just egotistical, and for your time you were getting away with it
for a little while.
Yeah, exactly, until his ego got the best of him. And again, I've studied this man since I was a kid, so like, don't get me wrong, his psychology like fascinated me for the time frame that he was committing these murders, which actually a lot of serial killers were in like the 60s to late 80s is when they were the most prevalent and getting caught the most. Well, probably just they were getting caught the most. Probably they were way more like back in the day, but when they were all getting caught, but I'm like, that makes sense. Like, forensics was just coming out, fingerprinting was just becoming like a solid science that they were using in courts, like all that stuff. Like, it makes sense to me that all these fucking idiots really were getting caught because they never had to really think beyond kill and get out of the house.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of them started getting caught then because that's when police departments started sharing information. Whereas before it was like, if you did crimes in different areas, those crimes might never be tied together.
Yeah.
And if you forgot, or if you went to a different state, unless the crime made national news, nobody probably knew.
Dude, and if you got in with a good plastic surgeon or you did something to really like change it, like, no one's gonna, or sometimes you could just grow a beard, gain some weight. Like,
yep. Moving on to Richard Ramirez, was chaos incarnate, impulsive, sadistic, driven by ideology. He found identity in destruction. It's almost like Bundy and Rader represent control to the extreme, and Ramirez is the total opposite. Chaos for chaos's sake.
It's a very hedonistic way to view killing, really. Like, Ramirez was very much I'm gonna do it for me. Like, whether it's to stop the doing or like just because, like, you're right, it wasn't like he was controlled, methodical, whatever. No, he was the Night Stalker. He found a girl and he killed her. Like, he's a very deranged man. Yeah, I'm going to try and pronounce this right. He is one of the people that killed people in Hotel Cecil, I believe it's called. He's suspected to have at least killed somebody in that hotel, which is also called Serial Killer Hotel because there's been about 8 different serial killers that have murdered somebody in that hotel.
Yeah.
But he is believed to have killed there as well. Oh, and he also, for all our American Horror Story fans, there's also a bit about him in there too.
I don't watch American Horror Story, so
figure.
Yeah, nope, don't do the horror thing. Even my therapist was laughing the other day because she was like, I started to watch the Ed Gein thing, but she's like, I just haven't been able to. And I was like, I got 4 episodes in, and that's where it ended for me. And she's like, you didn't finish it? I was like, nope. She's like, oh yeah, that's right. You did tell me that you had to watch Disney for hours. I was like, yep, Lucas the Spider is my little friend.
Love him.
My kid was giving me a hard time because he was like, you don't like spiders. I was like, but it's Lucas the
Right.
Spider.
It's different. He's
He's
in a
my
screen and he's cute.
But even chaos has a pattern when you look close enough. Next
Mhm.
up, female serial killers, breaking the mold. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because when we talk about female serial killers, people act like they don't exist. They do. They just kill differently. They're often quieter. Their weapons are trust, care, familiarity, not knives and basements. And it's
No.
usually more personal.
No.
The betrayal, the heartbreak, the survival instinct. So let's talk about a few. Let's start with the one we already started with last week, Eileen Wuornos. Her rage came from trauma. She killed in what she claimed was self-defense, but it was rooted in years of abuse and fear. She externalized everything, all the pain she'd carried. And realistically, personally, I believe that her rage was rooted in her trauma, but I feel like she sought out these men with specific characteristics, knowing that that was going to be the end result.
Okay. I think that she was a very traumatized individual, and she was traumatized very young. And I believe that probably her first, maybe even second murder were somebody that went after her and tried to attack her. But then there's other people. If you actually look at somebody as a victim, really look at them, I don't believe they attacked her. I don't believe that for a goddamn thing. I believe she didn't get what she wanted, or she wanted to rob them, or maybe they even look like somebody that had hurt her in the past. And she went after them. And then the thing when she got caught was every single one of these men tried to rape me. I'm not
Maybe
saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying that
maybe she perceived solicitation as an attack.
that, or even maybe putting their hand on her shoulder in a way she didn't like, or she was in a delusion and they like maybe even a friendly touch, she took it as you're a man and you're touching me.
Yeah, but if she's presenting herself as a prostitute, which is what she was presenting herself as.
Yeah.
And like you said, some of these men just don't fit the profile for being an abuser per se, but definitely for being somebody that would pick up a prostitute and offer them money for.
Or I could see where she went into it knowing what she was doing, got into it, and then started to have a flashback or something. And again, I will reiterate, Heather and I are not like professionals and stuff. This is just us theorizing right here.
Yeah, entertainment purposes only. This is our personal opinion.
Yes.
And also as a trauma survivor and having some similar thought processes to some of these people, maybe not the same broken safety switch that sends me out searching for somebody to end, but definitely I can understand some of the thought process on how some of these people ended up where they did, and how I'm thankful that I was able to get help before these same characteristics in myself could have led me down a different path. That is why I think that I don't get into horror anymore either, is because like I've worked so hard to not have this channeled intentionality of trauma, that the idea of doing some of the things that used to literally bring excitement to my mind make me feel revolted and sick to my stomach.
See, for me, I think it's that fear feels different now. Fear used to be like almost like an excitement. My body took it on because fear was normal. It happened all the time, off and on through my life, like on a regular enough basis that it wasn't normal. But so when I got older, like I think I like really sought that out almost, because as much as I'd be like, or it'd be like laughing like my own twisted brain working, as I've healed, fear actually feels like fear now. I don't like it. It's sickening. It literally makes me physically sick to be scared now. Like, and yes, I know how to control it and I know how to whatever, but fear doesn't feel like, oh, that's just another part of life. You get over it and you get through it and you find the humor in it. Like, as twisted as it may be, now this isn't a normal like thing in my life. So what is making me afraid? Please make it fucking stop.
Yeah. I still respond to fear like real fear, not perceived fear.
Yeah.
Because perceived fear in movies and stuff, I just try to avoid that because, like, yeah, I get the sickness and stuff like that. But real fear still triggers the trauma response of I immediately start assessing the situation.
Oh yeah.
And if it's a situation that needs action, then I immediately am like, okay, this is what we're doing, and universe help whoever is on the receiving end of whatever is going to happen from coming from me at that point. Huh.
Yeah, I'm still very lucky. I don't want to say lucky because I know it's some of the things I've been through that make it this way, but I'm not going to be the person curled into a corner sobbing no matter how afraid I am. I am always going to be the person that's helping other people through, and just being like, this is boom, 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 like we have to do this so we can get through, so I can be alone at some point and break down then when nobody's around. But it used to be when I felt fear, like my whole, like everything just shut off and went numb. It wasn't like, I'd just be like, we're gonna get through that. And at that point, I'd be like, I don't care who lives, who died, like whatever, like we're just getting through it. Like, and I'm not gonna give a fuck about anything. Now it's, we're gonna get through because I give a fuck about something, and that makes me better prepared to be able to do more.
Yeah. I've had all the fear responses, so like I said, it just depends. But moving on to our next female serial killer is Jane Toppan, or Jolly Jane, was the opposite. She was a nurse who poisoned patients just to watch them die.
Yes.
She got pleasure out of it. Sexual gratification, even. She controlled life and death through the illusion of care. She was a sexual sadist that literally enjoyed taking people's lives to get off.
So this is a section of what we like to call dark angels. Dark angels are actually talked about in psychological books. They are a very well-known phenomenon, but she's a little different than a lot of these dark angels. Typically, dark angels have no sexual component to it. They like really do believe they're like helping these people like move into the afterlife, past pain, past whatever, or they have a financial like thing with it. But the sexual thing is what really sets her apart. To get that gratification in killing them medically is a special fucked up type of twisted.
Sorry, I was thinking about the next lady up because you're like a special kind of twisted. Our next lady up is Nannie Doss, known as the giggling granny.
Yeah.
She poisoned her husbands with arsenic after romantic disappointments.
Yeah, so audience members, like, I didn't know the list that's coming up again. Like, I so far know who she's talking about because of I fucking research serial killers like a psychopath. But this woman was fucking less than dog shit. How dare you hurt babies? I don't care how old the babies were, they're babies.
What babies?
She
killed her husband.
Oh, I thought she killed her, like, grandchildren.
No, she killed her husbands with arsenic after they didn't perform well in bed.
I heard that.
And she smiled through it all.
This is the wrong lady I was thinking of then.
Yeah, she killed to correct the fairy tale that didn't work out.
This is a much different lady than I was thinking you were. I'm sorry. Can you imagine if every woman killed off every man that didn't please her in bed?
There would not be a lot of men left on the planet. Actually, no, I take that back. I can't say that.
They'd
I can't
get
say
better.
that.
I bet they'd be studying.
Yeah. I was gonna say, actually, the last few years, the gentlemen that I have encountered in life have been pretty well acquainted with the arts. There's been a few not so acquainted, but for the most part, that hasn't been an issue.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And then, there's my ex-husband's favorite because he was alive during it and he lived there in Sacramento. It's Dorothea Puente. Killed her elderly tenants for financial gain, and she buried them in her backyard and kept cashing their checks. Not all of them did she bury in her backyard, by the way. She buried lots of them under her house and would pour lime on top of the bodies for the smell and to decompose them quicker. But it didn't help when the police showed up and her whole house smelled like decomposing bodies.
Yeah, I was just about to say, audience, it still smells. Don't fucking get it twisted. Like, decomposing with lime, it still has a smell, and those people know what that smell is. An
unforgettable smell.
Take my word for it, please.
Don't do
it.
It's an unforgettable smell. No one will ever confuse it with anything else. I don't care how many times they say that, like, Jeffrey Dahmer had rotting flesh in the apartments and people thought it was trash that he hadn't taken out. That's not the case. I promise you that is not the case. There's nothing that smells the same as decomposing human.
No.
Ever.
No.
Ever. And as somebody that has lived somewhere where there was an unaliving, a self-unaliving, and then the police cleanup left brain matter under some furniture, I could tell you, without a doubt, it is not anything you have ever smelled before in your life. Ever.
No, I used to think I wanted to do crime scene cleanup because some of them make damn good money. I found out going and not even helping, but going to a site because somebody knew how, like, I don't smell a lot of things, like, bad smells don't really affect me, like, whatever, like, no, I went to 2 of them and, like, hurled at both of them, and I was like, and the body wasn't even in there anymore, it was just the cleanup, and I was like,
yeah, when I was on the East Coast, I knew several people that used to do that, and they didn't last more than 2 weeks, any of them. And that's with hazmat suits and respirators and everything provided. They were like, nope. No.
Dude I went with both times had been doing it for over 25 years. And he was like, the only thing is I pay my therapist more than I pay my mortgage. See her every other day. Like,
Yep.
you're gonna see some shit that's never, ever. I was like, but the bodies are gone. He's like, sometimes. He's like, but even if they are, you could. There's just some scenes you walk into and you just. No.
Never going to be the same.
Yeah. Oh. I'm
All
already
right.
psychologically damaged, so no thank you.
Yeah. Our last female serial killer that I've got on the list is Rosemary West. Alongside her husband Fred West, represented the codependent sadist, a shared psychosis built on childhood trauma and sexual control. They murdered together.
I actually don't know anything about these two, so let me get it. I want the info.
Okay. Fred and Rosemary West were one of Britain's most notorious serial killer couples, responsible for the sexual abuse, torture, and murder of at least 10 young women and girls, including 2 of their own children between 1971 and 87. Yeah. The majority of their crimes occurred at their home at 25 Cromwell Street in, I'll probably say it wrong, but Gloucester, which became known as the House of Horrors. Key details. Victims, the confirmed victims included their 8-year-old daughter Charmaine, killed by Rose while Fred was in prison, their 16-year-old daughter Heather, Fred's first wife Catherine Rena Costello, her daughter Charmaine, along another young nanny, Anne McFall, pregnant with Fred's child, a pregnant lodger, Shirley Ann Robinson, and several other young, vulnerable women who they often lure into their home with offers of work or a place to stay. Dude, 2 pregnant women. One of them pregnant with his own child. And they killed their own children. That's, whew.
Yeah.
Modus operandi. The couple preyed on vulnerable young women and girls, often picking up hitchhikers. Victims were taken to their home, subjected to extreme sexual violence, bondage, and torture, and then murdered, typically by strangulation or suffocation. Their dismembered bodies were then typically buried in the garden or cellar of their home at 25 Cromwell Street and at a previous address on Midland Road.
It's so crazy to me that you can pull up their address of that.
Well, I'm sure it's well known because if it was called dubbed the House of Horrors.
Yeah, I know, but still, that's still so crazy.
Their crimes were uncovered after one of their surviving daughters, Louise, disclosed the abuse to a friend, leading to an anonymous police report in 1992. A persistent investigator followed up on a disturbing family joke that Heather was buried under the patio, leading to an excavation of the property in February 1994. Fred was arrested and confessed to Heather's murder, and the remains of 9 victims were eventually found at the house. Fred West was charged with 12 murders, but committed suicide in prison on January 1st, 1995, before his trial began. Oh, because he knew. That means there's a lot more crimes he did not want coming out. Ooh. Rosemary West was tried and convicted of 10 counts of murder in November 1995 and sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order, meaning she will never be released. She has maintained her innocence. The house at 25 Cromwell Street was demolished in 1996.
Okay. I understand now. That's why they're okay with the address being released.
And this is them.
They're kind of cute.
Just your average 80s couple.
But that's one of the scariest things about these killers is everybody expects them to look a certain way, or act a certain way, or have a certain childhood, or whatever. But even
I'd have trusted them, especially if I was young and pregnant and needed help.
Exactly. But that's the thing, like, even with all these links, would most people put it together? No, they look like nice people. They're helping little pregnant girls out. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like a certain family members of yours, although she I don't think is a serial killer, but if you look at other aspects, like, she definitely could have taken random people into her house, people don't see people again, like, constant flow of traffic.
While young and pregnant and on their own, not going to get a lot of questions. So here's the pattern. The men kill to dominate, the women often kill to reclaim control. But underneath it, same wiring, same hunger for power, same absence of empathy. We can trace all of them back. What?
Same living in a fantasy, sorry, like, a lot of them.
We can trace all of them back to some form of trauma, abuse, neglect, humiliation. But trauma doesn't excuse it. Most people experience trauma and never hurt anyone. What changes things is how that trauma mutates. When control becomes the only way they feel safe and empathy just dies. And the scary thing is that on the surface, a lot of them looked like us. Friendly, helpful, even likable. And some were just plain sexy. Like, I'm sorry, I'll say it 100 times. Like, Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer would have walked up to me in a bar and bought me a drink and had some conversation, I'd have been a victim. Like, yep. I'm not even joking. That's the mask of normalcy. The neighbor who waves at you every morning, the teacher, the nurse, the church volunteer, the guy who helped you move a couch. They learn how to mimic emotion, but they don't feel it. They just study it and reflect it back. So let's talk about what to look for. The red flags that show up way before anyone becomes a headline. Cruelty to animals, not just experimenting, but enjoying suffering. Because little kids do weird stuff sometimes, and there's no malicious behind it. But if they're doing it out of pleasure, that's different.
Well, there's something, psychologists don't really go by this anymore, but it was very recently, and they used to call it the dark triad. Animal cruelty. Wetting the bed at an older age. And, do I like to set shit on arson? I'm sorry. It took me a second to come up with the word. But these three things accumulating in early childhood is what they used to call the dark triad. And basically, they don't use this anymore because you can do a lot of these things and never become a psychopath. But a lot of serial killers did all three of these things as children. And it used to be one of their warning symbols.
What else I have on the list is chronic lying and manipulation without guilt, extreme isolation and resentment towards others, obsession with violent fantasies, control or domination, emotional flatness, no genuine remorse or empathy, need for recognition or superiority. They want to be noticed even for the wrong reasons. And not everyone who shows one of those signs becomes a killer, but every killer we've studied had at least a few of them very early on.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that people excuse those things. We normalize cruelty, we call manipulation clever, we ignore red flags until they've already escalated.
Yeah, and especially, like, I think if you look at the serial killers that are like, they had such good parents. They had such a normal childhood. Did they? Or were their parents just not paying attention or choosing to be ignorant of the signs in front of them?
Or was it a sign of the times where neglect was the norm? And so the parents didn't think they were doing anything wrong, but really normal life was the problem.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, there was no such thing as helicopter parents. There was no such thing as Life 360. If you wanted to go off in the woods and do some shit, nobody was gonna know. There wasn't cameras everywhere. There wasn't trackers. Like, it was a lot easier time back then to, I guess, live out your intrusive thoughts.
This last little bit, I'm going to move through quickly because we are running long and I want to get this information in there. So, criminal profiling, the science of patterns. Criminal profiling came from studying these same behavioral loops. It's not about psychic guesses, it's about connecting data, motive, signature, and opportunity. The FBI's behavioral science unit learned to recognize escalation patterns, how the first kill is rarely the beginning, it's just the first time the mask slips. That's what's wild, that you can track a personality through behavior before anyone even knows a crime's been committed. Profiling is empathy in reverse, understanding emotion to identify those who've lost it. Societal blindness and the lure of evil. The truth is, we glamorize killers and ignore victims. We turn serial killers into pop culture icons, documentaries, fan clubs, merch, while we forget the name of the people they destroyed. We need to start seeing fascination as education, not entertainment. Study them to understand patterns, not to romanticize them. Because if we can understand how evil hides, we can stop pretending it's easy to spot.
Yes.
At the end of the day, studying monsters isn't about feeding the fear. It's about learning what happens when empathy dies and power takes its place. Every one of these people started as a child. Some were abused, some were neglected, some were adored. But somewhere along the way, the human part shut off. And if anything, it proves how important connection and compassion really are. Because the second we stop feeling for each other, we stop being human. We can't heal what we refuse to see. We can't prevent what we glamorize. Evil doesn't look like movies. It looks like your neighbor, your coworker, your friend who just seems a little too detached. And hey, honestly, check in with your friends that are detached, but don't assume that means they're plotting serial killers, because I'm one of those people that really doesn't reach out or talk to anybody if I don't absolutely have to, besides you.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the energy for social interactions right now. I have zero spoons for social interactions. I don't want to hang out with people. I don't want to talk to people. And it's not that I don't still love people. I do. I'm in a phase of life where I'm trying to conserve as much energy as I can for myself because I need it.
Yep.
And if people don't understand that, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Monsters aren't mythical. They're molded. One choice, one cruelty, one unchecked trauma at a time. So, ask yourselves, are you connecting? Are you withdrawing? Do you need connection? Do you share characteristics with serial killers and now are starting to understand a little bit more how any person could become one with the right environment? Because these are the questions we'd really like you to ponder as we move out of the serial killer topics next week. I'm not sure what we will be bringing to you, but it will not be serial killers.
It is time to take a break.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm really glad that we did not approach this to glamorize serial killers, to glamorize their crimes, or really get into a lot of their crimes, because it isn't about the crime.
We are not a true crime podcast. That's not what we're trying to do.
This is about how you can identify traits in yourself or others that could be a red flag early on so that you can offer support. And if it's past early on and there's no way to support, so that you can protect and extricate yourself in a timely manner.
Yeah.
I hope that we have given you some good information. I hope that you enjoyed this week's and last week's podcast. And I'm going to hand it back to Ashley to see what kind of final thoughts she has before I leave you with our final question.
I am so happy that you guys have joined us on our little expose on truly the darkest form of psychopathy. and allowed us to maybe open your mind. And I know I hear people say all the time, they just don't understand, they just don't get it. Like, us as sane people that don't want to murder random chicks they see off the street, we're not going to understand completely, but maybe this gave you a little bit of, knowledge on how serial killers are built and how circumstances and fragile minds just create some of the most twisted beings we've seen. And again, we did not do this to bring fame to the serial killers or anything else. We just did this to give our perspective, maybe, of them.
Well, and honestly, in a day and age where people are disappearing every day, even with cameras and everything everywhere, it's the hope that people will understand that you can't tell a serial killer just by looking at him.
Remember,
but maybe, ladies, when you go out and you look around at the guys wanting to talk to you, you notice their behaviors. You notice if they're by themselves. You notice if they're asking you questions about who might look for you, who might be worried about you, who might show up looking for you. Those kind of leading questions are questions to worry about. And gentlemen, if you're out and you see a man that seems to be isolating a female in a bar or a restaurant or whatever, maybe step in. Maybe just stop and say hello and ask for her number, even if you're not really trying to get her number, but to get into the situation and give a little bit of distance so she can get safely away if that's what need be. It doesn't hurt to intervene and say something innocent like, could I get your number or something, even if nothing is going on, because worst case scenario, they're going to say no thank you and you move along.
Yeah,
that's the end of it, but you might have saved somebody's life. So thanks for joining us once again here at From the Minds of Raging Brats. Stay aware, stay human, stay safe, and remember, rage responsibly.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.